Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Private Practice with Soul podcast. This is the first podcast for counsellors that just don't align with the traditional approaches to business and that want to use their spiritual gifts, talents, and interests to create, you guessed it, a private practice with soul. So, look, leave it to me to provide you with everything you need, including strategies that you can use to increase your income, reduce your workload, and of course, increase inquiries and referrals to your beautiful soul-led private practice. I love it so much. If you haven't done it already, grab your journal, grab your pen, and let's begin. Welcome to another episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast. My name's Brooklyn. If you're just new, welcome. Today, what I want to do is a podcast episode that is for people who are finding themselves stuck in the wounded feminine. So the wounded feminine is that part of our energy. So we have, chi and prana, or yin and yang, and we've got masculine and feminine. They're just names for energy. And the wounded feminine energy is the energy that is full of self-doubt, that's in sort of that victim mindset, that feels like she can't get unstuck. She can't do anything right. Everything she does is wrong. It's that mindset of not being seen, is the experience of not being seen or heard. And it's the experience of feeling like you're giving and giving and giving and you're not able to fill your cup. So if you can resonate with some of that energy at the moment, and of course it's much bigger than that, then this is an episode that I've created just for you, okay? So I want to share with you that, I know what it's like to be up and awake in the early hours of the morning, stressing about private practice. And it's not just private practice, is it? It's everything. It's money. It's, what do I do about the future? It's all of the stuff. I know because, as you know, if you've been following me for a little while, you know my story as well. I absolutely understand that so many of you go through this. It's almost, for so many of us, a rite of passage into private practice, yet not many people talk about it. You can feel like, I don't know, if you have that experience, for example, where you do have that sleepless night or a light sleep and you're thinking and all the thoughts are swelling around in your mind, where you're doubting yourself. And for me, it was like that too, and questioning your decision to start a private practice, but maybe even questioning your decision to move into counselling, especially when, perhaps you have a partner, a really loving partner that doesn't like seeing you so stressed and worried, and, they gently encourage you to perhaps put your business to the side for a little while and maybe go and get a real job where you've got that financial security and you've got that regular paycheck coming in. And there's part of you that understands where they're coming from when they say that, but there's also part of you that wants to push back against it because you know that this is what you're actually meant to be doing, that this is your purpose, to be helping people. I think it's also hard too because you spend time, scrolling through, say, social media perhaps, and maybe you're in some groups and you've seen comments from people telling you that, you're not qualified enough, or you need to do more degrees, or you need to have more education, or you need to just be more and do more, and all that sort of pressure as well. It's like, you're not good enough if you've only got a diploma or something like that, and then people are also questioning you about your fee, and you start to take it on board. You see it so much and you hear it so much that it starts to become a belief because it's so repetitious. Everyone, questioning you, well, you know what, if you've got a diploma or if you've got a bachelor's, you shouldn't really charge more than this, or, psychologists only charge that, so why are you charging that? And it's this constant pressure from peers and colleagues that we listen to and we respect. And so we kind of believe, well, they must be right. And it puts more, I don't know, like it did for me, but it put more self-doubt into my mind as well. And I really felt like at the base of all of this, I really, felt like, am I good enough? Can I do it? And I never even questioned what good enough even meant, I used to wonder, what if they're right? What if they're right? And then that wondering became a belief that they were right, that, maybe I wasn't cut out for private practice. Maybe I wasn't, set for business. Maybe I just don't have a head for business and I will never have a private practice. And I go to work the next day and I'd look at Haloxy, which is my practice management software, and I'll see an empty screen and I'll freak out. And, just seeing that empty diary would mean to me, there's no clients coming, so yeah, I'm not going to get to help anyone. But there was a more urgent need within me that I'll admit to you now, and that was, how am I going to pay my mortgage? Like, I didn't have anyone to rely on. It was just me. I didn't have a partner that, I could lean on financially. If I didn't get income and turnover into the practice, I wasn't going to be able to pay my mortgage. I wasn't going to be able to pay my rent. And I'd see this empty diary and I'd get chills. Like, I would come out I'd start shaking and trembling and think, what am I going to do? And then I'd make the mistake of clicking ahead to the next week and the week after, and they'd all be empty as well, and it would just make me feel dread, fear, anxiousness, worry. And, I would start to wonder myself, what if I was never meant to do this? And I would feel, because I was so anxious about it, I feel tired a lot and I would just feel drained so many days. I was just feeling drained. So I wasn't seeing clients, but I found myself doing more and more and more and more and more. So it was like more marketing, more. Back then I was doing meet and greet lunches with doctors at doctor clinics. So I was doing more of those. I was scrounging for help in all of the online spaces, and I was just new to Facebook then, and I was feeling so vulnerable. Like, I didn't want to tell anybody that I was struggling with it because I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. I thought, I should be doing better. I put a lot of pressure on myself to be doing better and to be doing more, and yeah, it was just really horrible. And it was really hard for me to, even in those online groups, ask for help. Like, instead of asking for help, I was often just looking at where other people had asked for help, and I was trying to act on the advice that they'd been given. And do you know what? I never even questioned the advice that other people were providing in those communities. I just took it as law. I just thought, oh, okay, so the advice they're getting is to post more on social media, so I guess that's what I'll do. And I was killing myself posting on social media all the time. And not only that, it was the meetings. It was, oh mate, I spent so much money on business cards and flyers, which I don't recommend now, as you know, but this is where I was. And I know what it's like to try and put on a brave face for your family and for your friends. I know what that's like to try and sound, to know the reality of what you're facing with your private practice, but to not want to show that to everybody. And I know what that's like to try and be brave and try and be optimistic and bright and enthusiastic to, people in your circles, because you don't want them to know, but on the inside you're actually feeling panicked. And then, I don't know about you, but I would try and steer the conversation into a completely different direction. I know what that's like to, have that disrupted sleep because of all the swirling thoughts. And I know how it affects your relationship with your family as well, because you're just not present, because your head is stuck on survival mode. Your head is totally stuck on survival mode. And so even while you're home, and you've got people around you, your head's off in a whole other space. And I don't know about you, but it really affected my confidence. My confidence just diminished. It just eroded. But if you're in that situation, right, here's what I want you to know. It's absolutely not your fault that you're in this situation, that you think these things and that you feel these things, okay? Especially when colleagues and peers around you are telling you that you shouldn't be charging, or that you should be charging only a low fee. It's not your fault when you've got people telling you, well, do you know what? You're just a counsellor. You're not as good as a psychologist, or you've just got a diploma, or you've just got a bachelor. You're not as good as someone who's got a master's. They can charge this much, but you shouldn't, because you haven't done all of that. And it's not your fault when, the culture of counselling is that we should be charging lower because we don't offer rebates, and it's not your fault when you see other people, other counsellors sharing their big wins in private practice about how they've got these long waiting lists and they're booked out and all of this sort of stuff. It makes you feel horrible when you're already in this space of self-doubt, and it's not your fault either when well-meaning people around you, and maybe it's peers and colleagues, maybe it's teachers, maybe it's other students, family or friends, but they're trying to gently suggest that maybe you just put the private practice on hold for a little bit and go and do something else. And it's not your fault either when you look on your social, whether it's Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or websites, and other people seem to be like crushing it. How are they doing it? What is the magic sauce? What's the secret? Like, how come you don't know it? You've turned over every single rock, and you still are missing that thing that everybody else seems to know and won't tell you. It's not your fault either, because you've got membership bodies here. Membership bodies that actively feed into your imposter syndrome by telling you you're at this level or you're at that level. If you want to be worth more, or if you want to be more valuable, you need to spend more money and go up to this next level. It's ranking you, and you're up against it. And if you're not in a position where you can, or where you desire to move up levels, where does that leave you? It's this constant barrage of messaging from your community, from your membership body, from online groups, that you're just not there yet, wherever there is, And it's certainly not your fault when, you feel like the bar keeps getting raised, where you weren't taught how to run a business in the first place. You just think it's going to be quite easy. You just think, oh, well, all I'm going to do really is I'm going to go and make a website and make some business cards, and then I'll drop off some flyers, and then, people will just turn up. And it's a very rude awakening to go out and do all of that and have an empty diary. No one's turning up. But here's the thing, you don't know how to start a practice. You're winging it. You're totally winging it based on things that you think other people are doing. But here's the thing, they're not doing those things. They're building their practices in other ways, but you're not privy to what those other ways are. And that's why you're not getting the clients or the inquiries or the bookings. It seems like everybody else knows this secret except for you. And it's exasperating, totally exasperating. And I get it, because as you know, I was there too, but I'm not there now. I found a way through. But for me, my story was that I spent nearly $100,000, and I've got all the receipts, and I'm going to post all my invoices so you can see how much money I spent with different coaches and mentors and courses and programs all about learning how to create success in your private practice. I'm going to show you all of those. It was $100,000 over the period of about 4 or 5 years that I didn't have. I had to find that money. And, I did do things like I maxed out credit cards. I did do things like extended my work hours. Like I found a way to make it work because I really believed I needed that course or that program, right? And at the time, at the end of all of that, here's what I learned. What I learned was you don't actually need any more courses and you don't actually need any more programs. You do not need any more stuff. You already know what your practice needs. It's just a matter of learning how to access that. That's all. You don't need to do what I did. You absolutely, hand on heart, 100% do not need to go and spend, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 on courses like I did. Absolutely not. After doing all of those, what I learned was it all came down to one thing, right? It all comes down to one thing. And here's what it is: balance. That's it. Balance. It cost me $100,000 to learn that at the end of the day, what's missing from your practice is balance. And, when you think about balance, this is what it is. You see, balance provides you with a framework. The balance provides you with a structure for the business that shifts you from where you are now to where you want to be, of course. And it achieves this not by doing more things, but by actually drawing back on what you're doing and pulling back the energy that you've been leaking out all over the place. Having balance is going to give you, or gives me security. It gives me safety. It gives me peace of mind because I know now that I've got the structure in place that when I'm in the mood to do something that allows me to connect with, the audience or the next client or handle that next call or do the therapy with a client, that I get to do so freely and fully and with love and with grace and just totally knowing I'm safe to spend the time doing that. It allows me to receive things into the practice that I wasn't able to receive before, like money. It gives me space to express myself and to be creative while I'm being receptive to new things like, new experiences, new clients, new ways of working, new ways of being as a woman in private practice. And you know what? That's what I want you to know. That's what I want you to take away. It's not about you doing more courses, more programs, investing tens of thousands of dollars in things. Your success comes down to one thing, and that's balance. And for me, the way I approach balance is through the masculine and the feminine. As you know, the masculine is all about your structure and your processes and all those sorts of things. But that feminine is being receptive, being in that receiving space, being in that expressive space, feeling safe to be seen, feeling safe to be heard, wanting to nurture, wanting to connect, and when you've got the balance of those energies, that's when you're in flow, and that's when you get to experience what you want to experience in your practice, which is different for all of us. For me at the moment, my practice is all about how do I create more freedom for myself? How do I create more freedom for my life so that I can do the things I want to do? So I could look after my mum, so I can look after Gabe, so I can, invest in myself. I want to go on a health and wellness retreat. I want to travel more. I want to do more things that make me say, wow, I want more expansion. That's what I'm looking forward to. And because I've got this balance in my practice now, I get to do all of those things. And now what I'm working on is I'm creating even more freedom in my practice. And I want you to understand that when you've got that balance, you get to then say, what do I want to experience more of in my practice? And it could be freedom like me. It might be financial freedom. It might be time with your family. It might be opportunities to help more clients, things like that. Whatever it is, you can do it. But the secret is balance. And that's what Marketing with Soul is all about. It's about balance. It's about teaching anybody who wants to come along how to create that balance, and you learn and you experience what it means to release the fear. And this is the strangest thing too. Like, there's almost a fear of not being in fear. That's what it was like for me. It was like, oh, if I don't have fear, then I'm not going to be safe. I had this mixed up feeling in my mind that I needed to be afraid, and I didn't want to let go of the fear because I thought that if I let go of the fear, bad things were going to happen. I thought the fear was keeping me safe, but it wasn't. It was actually keeping me out of balance. It was not aligned. Fear is not aligned for any of us. It's out of integrity, and it's out of alignment, and it's out of balance with who we are and how we show up. And so, it's a hard thing to learn about moving through fear, and it's a hard thing to be open to letting it go. But if you want to experience change, if you're ready and wanting to experience expansion, and if you want to experience helping more people, and if you want to experience health and well-being and a restful sleep and presence with your family and with your friends, and if you want to experience alignment again, then it's a requirement that you're open to safely learning about releasing fear and replacing that fear with the next thing. And that's what Marketing with Soul is all about. That's why I put it together. At the end of the day, it's about balance. That's it. It's about balance. And if you're interested in experiencing balance, this is an invitation for you to reach out. I'm here to help. As I said, there is absolutely nothing that can stop you from experiencing the success, however you define success, in your private practice. And I'm going to help you do it if you'll let me. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Have a wonderful, wonderful Saturday, and I will talk to you during the week. I hope that you loved this episode as much as I loved putting it together for you. To get more resources to help you in your private practice, head over to Instagram. My handle is @theprivatepracticecoach. And also, if you want more inquiries and referrals for your business, let me know. I have a program called Clients on Demand that opens every quarter, and I can absolutely get you some information for that as well. You are doing an amazing job. Thank you for sharing your gifts with the world. Bye.